Okay, so we have opened up our final projects and we are about to install one of the key plugins that is worth a lot of points in your final project rubric. If you haven't logged in yet, you know what to do. If you're on XAMPP, you go to localhost / your domain. Have you heard this before? And then if you're on GoDaddy, you would log in by putting in your domain that you purchased, likely one of those $4.99.infos /wp-login.php. Now, if you don't know or can't remember the login information, but you have a GoDaddy account, that doesn't mean you can't get in. And this will be important too for some of you that have just set up your GoDaddy account, because I know a lot of you are going to wait and just do the 1 month, which you can't really do in most semesters. So if you're watching this later, don't do that. Visit my account. Once you log in, go visit my account. And then you'll see just one domain up here. I have a bunch. And then here where it says web hosting, it'll say setup, not manage. So you would click setup, connect to the only domain that you have, and then just follow the prompts and set it up for North America, by the way. And if you haven't verified your email, it will have a big yellow thing across there that tells you still have to do that. That would be the only reason it wouldn't let you connect to the domain and set it up. So once that's done, you will be brought to a screen that looks just like this. And if you haven't set up WordPress yet, it is literally as simple as going to the cPanel admin, okay, scrolling down into the middle of the screen where you get to web applications. So down here, web applications, click on WordPress. And once you click on WordPress, you would install this application. As you had seen me do in previous classes, when you click on install this application, you would probably not put it in a subdirectory because you have just one domain. You would set it up at the main domain. You would put in your own username and password, your own email. You can change that stuff later. The only thing I would change here is yes or no, do not limit login attempts, and then you just hit install. Now I don't need another WordPress site installed in my account, so I'm going to go back to the applications I already have. And as an example today, it's weird, go there. Application browser, my applications, there we go. As an example today, I'm going to use my brother's site, which I have set up at one of my domains because it's quite simple and just not a whole lot going on there. So like I said, if you forget to log in and you're on GoDaddy, you can go into the cPanel and go right to the dashboard by clicking on that. Okay, so once I get here, the reason I'm using a more stripped down version of a WordPress site, and I might show my site for some examples, which, as I keep saying, even though I do a bit of real estate on the side, my main job is here at Fanshawe, so I don't really do the best job of optimizing my website, which ends up having the website be a good example to use in class of things that you should do better. So I might bring that one up at the end of this lecture, but for right now, here's something that probably looks somewhat like yours. There's a few plugins that I installed for my brother that you'll see added to the dashboard, but if you just started your project, okay, and you're in the dashboard, you should all be in there with me now, you shouldn't have a whole lot going on yet. And remember, each time you install a plugin, it may add things to the dashboard. When you finally choose a theme and you go to Appearance Themes, you have chosen the theme, it may have a message up here at the top that says, hey, you should put all these plugins in. These are the plugins that work really well for this theme. You know, a lot of themes require that stuff, and everyone is different, which was why it was hard last week for us to go through that themes lecture and me to show you a lot of really good examples. But let's go right to plugins and put in the Yoast plugin. So you can see here, my brother's theme has a bunch of plugins that I installed as a result of the theme requiring them, and I just picked, he wanted a side navigation menu, which is pretty rare these days, but that's the kind of theme I found him. All of you will likely have this Akismet and Hello Dolly installed. You can delete those. Don't activate them, just remove them. There's no point having extra plugins if you're not going to use them. Okay, it's just taking up space in your root directory. It's taking up bandwidth with your hosting provider. You just don't need it. It's not going to really slow down your WordPress site if they're not activated, but you don't need them. Okay, Akismet was a security plugin. If you start to have a lot of spam and issues with your blog, I would recommend using the plugin WordFence. It's free and it provides enough with the free version that it's good enough to keep that stuff in check. Akismet is there every time you install WordPress, but it's actually pretty expensive to use it. So, and then Hello Dolly is just this cheesy thing that puts quotes on your site every day. So I'm going to go add new. Everybody should be doing this with me. And we're going to look for now there's a few different plugins by this guy Yoast. The one we want to start with is the free version of Yoast SEO. There is also a premium version, which is pretty cool because you can actually identify more than one focus keyword phrase. And we're just going to start in my class with one. If you launch a site and you really start to take off with these skills, I would recommend using the premium version. So install Yoast. If you are on XAMPP and you are on a Mac, what is about to happen when you try and install this plugin if you just set up your final project and you haven't done some other stuff yet? It's probably going to not let you install it because of what? The Mac codes, right? Like, because Macs have the higher security permission. So activate it. As long as it works, activate it. If you're on a Mac, I should have this up here. Jump over to week 5 in FOL, and you will see in this course, and if you're watching this video for another course, then it might not be week 5, but in the week 5 content, we have some codes that you can use on your Mac so you will not have any issues installing things into this root directory, and further to that, in other directories as well, because you're going to have issues uploading images, you're going to have issues putting plugins, you're going to have issues installing a theme. So when you see these codes here that we used for our example site, the one thing that has to change is the name that you've given to your new root directory. Again, this does not matter if you've gone to the remote hosting environment with GoDaddy. If you're still using XAMPP, that's completely fine, and you're on a Mac, you will have to go in and do these codes. So these go into the terminal. Everything's explained there in week 5. And then this just gets pasted in the bottom of WP config. Then you will be able to install the plugin without an issue. Okay, let's go over here for a second. All right, so Yoast.com is your sort of home base for everything that is Yoast. Okay, so if we go to SEO courses, for example, you'll see a variety of things here that have to do with Yoast and what he offers and all that. And he actually sells training packages, although you can get access to a lot of things on YouTube that are free as well. And if you go into the all-in-one training bundle, you see, like, you could do a lot of this without even going to a class per se, but there's just so much to learn here. So I'm going to give you like the crash course version, and then I'm going to encourage you to keep up to date, subscribe to his blog, try and have a handle on the changes that occur with the search engines, because he's always right on top of them. I think the guy's actual name is Yoost, like used to, and maybe his friends started calling him Yoast, I don't know, but there is like a single guy behind all of this, but he has quite a team now. So what does this plugin do? Okay, it helps to optimize keywords. Okay, it provides a preview of your page that will show you what it'll look like via Google, Facebook, or Twitter. It checks your readability. This is really interesting because a big part of the web now is user experience, and most people aren't posting white papers inside of their blog. You know what I mean? But this is like a big business research report on like an investment opportunity or something like that. It'll have all sorts of big, complicated words, and generally speaking, and maybe because we actually lose a certain amount of reading levels, like in terms of I read at like a grade whatever level, you actually lose some of that when you read from a digital screen. This is a proven fact. So Yoast helps you keep tabs on that. Full control over breadcrumbs, no duplicate content, technical stuff in the background in terms of like the htaccess file, and if links aren't working, it's always updated for Google's algorithm. Okay, so they're following Google, even though yesterday in class I talked about how it might not hurt if you're doing full SEO for like a client or something to set up the Bing's version of the Search Console as well. But generally speaking, I just go with Google, and that seems to cover everything. I still perform very well in the SERP with Bing and Yahoo. So let's go instead to the actual dashboard. I can close some of this stuff up here. And the dashboard in Yoast, you can see here, Yoast, as soon as I activated it, and I took a little bit of time there to make sure you could all get the plugin activated. This should be in your, like a menu, an additional menu item in your dashboard in the WordPress dashboard. So as I've explained many times, there's thousands and thousands of plugins that do different things and behave in different ways within the dashboard. Some plugins will add their own menu, like this one did. Some you have to go to settings to do certain things. Some just end up showing up in widgets if that's the purpose of them. They actually are widgets. Yoast is one of those plugins that runs in the background of your site and helps you sort of create and optimize your content. People that are looking at the front of your site will not know that Yoast is running in there unless they go into the code and search for that text word, which is fine. It's not a negative thing. So you're going to go into the Yoast dashboard to start with, okay? And in the Yoast dashboard, it goes through a variety of things, and it tells you if there's any problems with your website. Right now, it doesn't detect any issues. And it would typically pick some of that up, too, from the Webmaster Console if you've submitted your sitemap and stuff like that. So if you have a Webmaster account and you go over here, it asks you for the 3 Yandex. I guess that's taken over from Yahoo now. And Yahoo, you do, somebody said the other day, like, oh, I feel so bad for them. What? Like, that's a free market economy. That's life. That's business. They killed it for like a decade. Made tons of money as like just a general media platform and a search engine, and now they don't. So whatever. Yandex I've been hearing about. I haven't actually used that yet. Who in here uses Yandex? Funny enough that who uses Bing here? Okay, so all right, so we're all Googlers. That's fine. I'm cool with that. So you would put your Search Console code, like account in here. You can also verify with like the code. So if you go through the dashboard, it's actually a little easier than going through these different tabs and checking on things. So to start with, if you're actually launching this site legitimately, you should do this. If not, you don't have to go through all of this. So if you go through, where the heck? There, the configuration wizard. It's under general. So if you go to general and you go through you can see it used to allow you to get into access most of the settings in here, but now you actually have to go through and open the configuration wizard, because there's one key setting that I want to show you. Most of this is just sort of click through and make sure it's set right. So this site is live and ready to be indexed. I don't actually have it in my Search Console, but let's just leave it at that. My brother's going to be doing something with it at some point, so I'll just leave it. I would say more than anything, it's probably portfolio actually. So try and actually give them some information. I'm not sure, technically speaking, in the background how they use this, and I can't grade this when I grade your final projects. I just want to make sure you've actually gone through and you see all the things they're looking at. It's a person. That's my brother's name. If you have all your URLs or you're running it within these social posts for the topic you're doing for your website, so if your website's for a business and they have a Facebook page, they have an IG account, you should put all that in here. I would leave these the way they're set. And more than anything today, we're going to experience the Yoast portion of the dashboard as we're creating a post. I just want to get through here to get to one particular thing. The Google authorization code. So if you want to get an authorization code from your Search Console account, you would log into the account while you're in the Yoast dashboard. You would allow access, and it gives you the code. And then if you have this domain set up as a property in the Search Console, see, I don't want any of this to overwhelm you. I know there's a lot to take on here, like, oh my God, I have to do so many little things to make sure I'm fully optimized. It's not really like that. If you're in the Search Console and you're running a good plugin like Yoast, it's not the only SEO plugin, but it is the best one, and you're following their lead, you're already doing better than a lot of people on the web. A lot of people, well, I shouldn't say that. Actually, most people on the web, if they're doing SEO, do know better than to do this now. So do know better to do this, I should say. So you would copy the code and then put it in there. I don't have my brother's site in there as a property, so I'm not going to do that. So this is really important, because when we do our example today, we are very likely going to have a focus keyword phrase. So we're not just going to have a word. I understand that Yoast calls it the focus keyword, but that doesn't mean it's just one word. It will almost always be a phrase. You don't optimize a page based on the term about. Why not? You guys tell me. Why would you not optimize a page focusing on the keyword about? Well, that's one good point, because everyone has an about page, because it's not specific enough. And because you have to think, whenever you're optimizing, you have to think about, it was this section, we talked about this yesterday. Maybe it was another. User intent. That's a big, big deal. So all of this talk about how after all these years of SEO, it still goes back to content. You have to think about the user intent when you're creating this content. So if I'm running, ABC company that makes red widgets or whatever, like I want to make sure that I indicate in the keywords like where I am, who I am, this kind of, you got to be more specific. So when you do that, you'll likely have multiple words and you'll need some kind of separator. Since I've been using Yoast, I've always left it at the dash. It's the most commonly used character to separate words in a URL. It's not funky or weird or unusual, and I just leave it that way. So then across your website, whenever you do your slug, which is your URL, your full URL for a page or a post, you will always use the dash to separate things. When you make titles for things that you want to load up, like somebody might load up an image in the browser as just the image. So I would always separate the name of the file for an image with dashes, because that's how your site is going to be set. And then as you go through the last few things, they ask you to sign up for their newsletter. We don't need to worry. I would do that, by the way. I think it's great. And then they have some videos here. So here's Yoast actually talking a bit about some of this stuff. Okay, so he kind of goes on. I'm not going to have this running through the video, but he talks about why it's important to have the plugin and whatever. If you were to go watch this video, within the first 15 seconds, the first big thing he brings up is content. That's everybody. It's like, oh, what have we been thinking all these years about this tag and this individual keyword slipped into this little section of our website. It's about content. All right, so let's get out of there. Let's go to the end. Yep, we're good. We're happy. We got it all set up. And the main reason I went in there again was to show you the dash. The dash is the one character you will use to separate all titles or file names in your website. Just stick with the dash. Let's go make a post. So everybody should do this. Now, if you go to the posts and you still have the sample post there, I think it's in the trash here. I don't know what it was. It usually says "Hello World," I think. I delete it so quickly just get rid of it. Don't leave it in there. Then it leaves the uncategorized category in there, and you don't need that. Just go put it in the trash and go add a new post. And I'm assuming you know how to put the post in the trash. So if I were to restore this example I did in another class, and I go to my posts, and I wanted to put that in the trash, you can just click trash right here, or you can click multiple items and then go bulk and put them in the trash. Just get it out of there. When you come to turn in your project or come to see me for your final grading appointment, at the end of the term, I'm going to take points off if you've left the sample page and the Hello World post. Like that stuff, and it should not say just another WordPress site in your title anymore. Like all these things should be cleared out of there as soon as you set your site up. Go and add a new post. Now, once I started using Yoast, and if I have a plan set up, generally speaking, probably the first thing I do is make the skeleton of the site. So I would go in and let's say I actually am running a social media company and I've already made posts and pages about the fact that I'm whatever social media marketing in London, Ontario. I'm at this address. I have a physical address. People like that these days still. I can offer services across the country, but if you want appointments, I can have appointments. I have an office and all this stuff. Let's just say, generally speaking, we are a company in this area that's already been established. This post is going to be about Instagram hashtags. Okay? So I'm going to call the title like proper use of IG hashtags. Why do I not spell out Instagram? Because probably when people, I have to think about user intent. I'm just guessing that probably maybe users are going to search IG hashtags as opposed to Instagram hashtags. Now, how about I don't guess? Let's go right down to Yoast and see what kind of resources they offer. So the first thing I would do is establish the title. Now, as soon as you publish it, if you want to save that so the title's established in there, it is going to make a URL. That's called your slug or your permalink. And you are going to be editing that once you establish your focus keyword. So establish the title. Don't worry about the content right now. Go right down here. And in your dashboard, if you've installed and activated this plugin, you should have this whole Yoast module in the dashboard. And as part of this Yoast module and part of the plugin, you have resources, okay? Now, while they may not provide you access right here, if you hover over this and you go, oh, keyword research, cool. I wonder if I went to AdWords to see what they offered. And Google Trends kind of gives you a similar sort of layout. I have an AdWords account, so I'm going to go into AdWords and I'll show you what you can do in here. So there's a keyword planning tool in here. So if you go into AdWords and you don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of the data, you just want the basic data on like the volume of search, right? So I'm going to start over. The volume of search that you're getting. So find new keywords and get search volume data. Cool. I'm just going to go right to search volume data and trends. Or maybe I'll start with this actually. Let's see what I can find by going Instagram hashtags. Okay. Now, this is not going to be an easy keyword phrase to compete on. For me, living in a small town in southwestern Ontario, by trying to compete on the phrase Grand Bend real estate, for example, only the people doing that in Grand Bend in this area are going to be competing with me. A lot of people are going to be doing this. So there might be some way we could modify this further. But let's see what kind of ideas they have for this. So you hit get ideas. So 10 to 100 million average volume. If you go down here per month, it's 10,000 to 100,000. So some months there's only been about 10,000. Some months there's only been about 100. That's not that crazy. And then down here they give you all these different versions. So I wonder if I go IG hashtags, what kind of, so whenever you're choosing your focus keyword phrase, now for your final project, you do not have to do this for every keyword phrase. You would be working on your project for the next several months, but that's often what it takes to really optimize the living crap out of a website. You need to tailor your content to your users. So this is 1 to 10 million. If I go back to Instagram hashtags and the variations of that, it's 10 to 100 million. So that's a little stronger, okay? If I go using Instagram hashtags, okay, that goes back to 1 to 10 million. But if I go using IG hashtags, because maybe I do want to make it a little more specific. Oh, that's the same. Okay, well, I'm feeling that the difference between using IG versus Instagram was actually pretty dramatic, so I'm probably still going to spell it out. And remember that I'm assuming you've already established something. So this keyword, this post is going to be about using hashtags. So I'm going to put using Instagram hashtags. And then what is my core competency? Like, what is my business all about? Am I helping small businesses? Am I helping large corporations? Am I helping professional athletes? Like, what do I do? Let's just say, because there actually is a company in London that's their primary focus is SMO for professional athletes. They have like a couple teams in California, like in San Diego, they've got like pretty much the whole football team. So for professional athletes. Now, if I go search that, that's probably going to like kill the search volume. But maybe I want people to know that's how specific we're doing. So let's make sure it's at least still search. So maybe take out the word using. Let's go Instagram hashtags. Instagram. For professional athletes. Now, for is a stop word. Generally speaking, search engines just ignore them and they don't like them. But I also want the phrase to be used naturally in my content. So it's not an absolute necessity that you, wow. Sport, oh. Sport hashtags. For all ideas. So sport hashtags is killing it. Instagram sport hashtags. Yeah, so It's pretty low, 10 to 100. I might have to go with sport hashtags for this particular focus keyword, so that, because this could cross over to Facebook and Twitter, like other social media platforms where they're used in a similar way. Maybe I should rethink my post and just focus on hashtags and not focus on the platform itself. I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to make an article about hashtags that attract users as it pertains to sports. Now, I don't actually know that much about this, but the whole process there is picking the focus keyword. Everything else I do from this point forward will take less time. Pick your focus keyword, well, except creating the content, but pick your focus keyword and then work off that. Everything now has to surround on the focus keyword. Oh, let's go write my content. Nope, not yet. Do not write your content yet. Go here, edit the snippet. So the snippet is the most important piece here in the Yoast plugin. The reason for that is because, here, let's try it. Let's go sport hashtags. When I get to the SERP, the things that I see on the SERP here, okay, these, and now I think, oh, this is pretty cool, because most of these articles are just a list of hashtags for sports. In fact, some of the number one, I'm going to write more about it and do that. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff. So these things, actually, maybe I won't give up the hashtags. These results are our organic results. We are trying, to the best of our ability with SEO, as we discussed yesterday, to improve our rank organically. Now, as we also discussed, a lot of this is becoming a pay-to-play game. We want our content on certain sites that have a ton of credibility and a ton of linking, and then by linking to them, we get linked, we get backlinked, we're all over the place, right? That's a big deal. So in an industry like this, you don't really see people using AdWords. It's mostly those industries where things, so just as a separate example, let's try like used cars, London, Ontario. So we've got 4 people bidding on these ads. So, but Google is doing a good job of making this not look so much like a sponsored link anymore. It almost looks organic. Then you'd have your structured listings, which are very important. We talked about those yesterday. And then you get to the organic, where the descriptions are shorter. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed lately, but all of a sudden the meta description in Google started to go way past 155 characters, but Yoast is still stopping you at 155 characters, which is being done for a reason, because they're constantly watching the algorithm, and they're probably recognizing that even though descriptions are now allowed to be longer, that the shorter ones are maybe better. Now, length in posts and pages, that's not a negative thing. You want that to be longer. People are responding better to longer and more involved and richer content. But here, I wouldn't bother making that longer. But I'm just looking on the SERP and trying to figure out what's going on here. And as I'm seeing this, I'm realizing, wow, that's the title. That's the slug right there. That's the description. This could make or break whether or not people are going to go into your site. And this is this. So how people come, and I focus the importance of this every semester since I've started using Yoast, which has only been a couple years in my course. But every semester I say, do not come in with your final project having just turned the plugin on and choosing a keyword. Like, you won't get any credit. If you haven't done the snippet, you really haven't done much of anything. The snippet is the first thing you should do before you even write any content. If you don't do the snippet, this will just choose the first 150, whatever it is now in Google, characters and just stick it in there. So let's say you're writing about social media and you're writing about hashtags, and you started a story like in your content, like a couple years ago, I was at a colleague's house, and if you wanted to make it more conversational, probably it'd be better, like friend's house. And I was watching her create a post on Facebook to promote her business. And then you go on, and you know, whatever, you would have corrected your spelling and stuff. If you don't create a meta description for the SERP, this is what will automatically come up. And if somebody's on the SERP going, oh, cool, what's this site about? A couple years ago, I was at my friend's house. What? What is that? How does that describe what's in the site? How about something more like this? Here, This is a former student of mine who got pretty good at this. Okay, so he's created a website about his digital marketing services, okay? Okay, and I don't know how well he's ranking, but let's just Google him. Because this is a really hard industry to rank in, but there. So call 226-224-9778 for anything digital marketing. That's a cool intro to it. He's inviting you in without even making you go into the website. Like, this is huge. The meta description is huge. Simple, to the point, compelling. What the heck is going on your website? So, forget what I wrote there. Sport hashtags in terms of. Now, you want to be careful with using words like this. Like in terms of, you want to use all the space that Yoast allows you to use as well as you can. So I'm going to write it up first, and then I'm going to go back and sort of fix it. Now I'm doing this on the fly in front of you, so let's just bear with me here for a second. So sport hashtags in terms of professional athletes in social media. So professional athletes in social media might be another good buzz term, but you're currently just focusing on sports hashtags. So I'm using sport hashtags because right in the description, because that's my focus keyword, and I know the search volume is strong. In terms of hashtags used for professional athletes in social media, can be very complex. Consult with an expert for premium growth. Like, start using big ticket things to let them know they're gonna, Okay, now, as I hit the exclamation mark, I was one character too far. What else is missing? The name of my company, what we do, our phone number. Well, hang on. I still have space in the SEO title. And then, of course, I want using sport hashtag. So this is the actual URL. It's called the slug. Now, remember when I first created it? Now it edited for me. Good. So Yoast is pulling some more. I could swear I just used this a few weeks ago and I had to change that myself. But Yoast is good now at getting in and controlling that. So you don't have to go in and edit this. It actually did it for me. So I want this everywhere I can get it so that the frequency and the strength of this keyword phrase is ever present in my content. And that starts with what's on. So see what it's building up here for me? Okay, cool. So what's this? Wait a minute, what's this? Proper use of IG hashtags, discourse at work. That's actually the title of my brother's website that I'm using as an example. That's this. Okay? It's just going to put whatever you have there in there automatically unless you go into the snippet and customize it. So let's leave this for now. We'll deal with that in a second. And let's go, so let's say the name of our company is, FC for Fanshawe College. FC Social Media Marketing. Okay. Industry experts, right? Like, you got to make it compelling. And professional sport hashtags. So I've added extra. Oh, I'm a little too long. Darn, right? So it's the same thing. You're trying to fit whatever you can in there before. So I don't know if I'm going to pull a preank here and get my phone number in there, but I think I can make this work. So I probably don't need these separators in there. That would get rid of a couple characters. I probably don't need the stop word in there. Now I'm green. So the goal with Yoast overall is to get things to be green, but in the process of using a high quality, rich keyword phrase. Not using a word like about. That's not good enough, okay? So then I go down here, it's in there. I go here, I say, okay, well, that was really close, and I don't mind what I put there. So if I just took out a couple spaces, I've got it to be green. So this snippet part is the biggest deal in Yoast. Then from there, you're right, all right, I'm ready to write my content. So you go in here, and you're probably going to start with like a heading 1, right? And industry experts on sports hashtags. So then you can do the little story thing if you want. One might think that sport hashtags would be fairly obvious. On the contrary, so I want to have actual content in here that flows and discusses the topic. Now I can cheat a little bit with Yoast by boosting some content from somewhere else in the site and just putting it in here, and that way we can start to get some more green down here in our ratings. I'm actually going to go and update this. I'm just going to borrow some content from my brother's site. Just give me a second here. All right, he's in Page Builder. No, I don't want to do that. He's got a Page Builder thing in his theme. Remember I talked about these? I showed you the one on the TC Tree site. He doesn't have a whole lot of writing on his site. This is kind of annoying. I would have told him to write more. Let's just grab this. It'll be a good example for Yoast if it's not really long enough. Okay, let's get back into the dashboard. Posts. I can grab some lorem ipsum too and just sneak in the keyword phrase. So let's put some actual content. I want to see how his content is rated. Offering rich descriptions of sport hashtags. The word, just throwing it in there a little bit. Heading 2, sport hashtags. Instagram, sport hashtags. Heading 3, Facebook, sport hashtags. Now the reason I'm using a hierarchy of headings, and you can just use a few heading 2s too if the format suits it better, is because that's also part of optimization, is to feed this through different things. So Twitter, sport hashtags, and then one of Yoast's suggestions is that under each heading, you should have less than 300 words. You shouldn't do more than 300 words per heading, but each post or page that you're trying to optimize should be at least 300 words. So if I go down here with just this much in here, we're going to start to see how Yoast works. So click on these things and expand them. Okay, and I'm going to talk about the assignment you have to do now in a couple seconds here. So the keyword density is 5%. This is way over the advised 2.5%. You're clearly littering the keywords, right? So Yoast is like, we can tell you're just BSing the keyword in there, which was obviously done here where I put it in there and it had nothing to do with the sentence. Okay? So if I take it out there, and then, I don't know, I can just leave it for now. If I put more content in there, it wouldn't have the density issue. The problem is I don't have enough content. No images. Put images in. Put in focus keywords, do stuff like that. Text only has 118 words. It's not long enough. No internal links are here. You're not linking to anything else. No outbound links are here. The SEO title contains the focus keyword, but it doesn't appear at the beginning. Why the heck is Yoast going on and on about all this stuff? Because these are the things that this organization has basically made it their business to determine what works for SEO. So why would you not follow their guidance and do that? So I can go back up here and I can fix sport hashtags for professional athletes. Okay, that's what the post is going to be about. Now all of a sudden that orange rated thing is gone. It's gone. And now I got another green one that talks about how it's in there. Let's grab an image of anything. Okay, let's just let's go hockey player, whatever. Okay, it doesn't really matter what I'm doing here. Well, that's a pretty crispy picture there. Okay, now a couple quick things while I'm doing this. If you're going to start to use imagery in a page or post, you want to optimize that as well. Yoast won't actually be checking the title. They'll be checking the alt keywords, but I would put in sport hashtags, professional hockey, or NHL. That's a good little thing to put in there. Sport hashtags, NHL. And it's just a picture of somebody, but that's what I'm talking about in the post. Even though I don't have hashtags there, it might lead somebody. So oh wait, he didn't put hashtags in the picture, so that's bad optimization. Well, no, not if the picture leads you to a post that's full of the hashtags. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go back to the site, and I want to add a quick little other kind of tidbit of information on final project grading. Okay. If you're going to insert media, you don't have to necessarily go to the media library and do it from there. But you need to pay attention when you're inserting it for the first time. Okay, because every other time after you do it, it won't give you the opportunity to do a description. So this is the first time I'm putting this up. I'm going to go upload files. I'm going to go to the desktop, and I'm going to upload a file. Now, I'm also doing this because this is part of your planning post assignment too, is to have a picture in there with some alt keywords and a description. So I put it in there. Now, don't put it in the post yet, because only in the media library does WordPress show you the description field. So a lot of people lose points on their final project because they just throw all the media in there and then realize afterwards that I'm requiring both alternative text and a description. So then they go back. So I'll show you something here. I'm going to put a description in there right now, but let's put the description in how NHL hockey players can make the best use of hashtags in social media. And then I'm going to add the word sport because I want the same focus keyword to come in there, sport hashtags. Sport hashtags. Let's do this one in a second, okay? And let's just hit insert into post. And then if I want it to be in line with the text, I can click on it and I can go right here. Let's align left with the text. We learned all this before the break. Let's just call it that. If I go in here, I can add the alternative text. Notice how when you go in from the page or post, there is no description field. Are you guys listening to this? A lot of points are attributed to all these different things in your final project. Okay, if you go to that point breakdown, I require the description and the alternative text. If you put all these into pages and posts and then afterwards go, oh crap, I got to go do a bunch of alternative text and descriptions, most people do is they go in and click this and there's no description field there. You have to go back into the media library to do that. So if you do it all right as you're putting the picture in, that's the best way to do it. But let's say I forgot to do it here. So I'm going to go sport hashtags for the NHL. Nice and simple. Or you know what? These are both stop words. Get them out of there. Sport hashtags NHL. The only time you really need the stop words is when you're trying to actually write. Okay, the titles you're not really writing. You don't need to take up space with those words. Update, I've got an image in there. I'd go ahead and put an outbound link in there. You know how to add links. I'd go do an internal link. I'd start to get my markup with Yoast, okay? So when I update this, it's actually going to update up here where it's sort of analyzing how my post is doing, how it's rated. Now, it's still red. So I'm going to go down here and figure out what things I'm doing that are really bad. Well, clearly the biggest issue it has is that I just don't have enough content. So even if I were going to go to add, like, let's add some lorem ipsum. Okay, so now your project, your planning post, the assignment you have to do here, that only has to have 600 words, but it is more than 300. So this isn't even lorem ipsum. This is actually explaining lorem ipsum, but let's just grab it. Lorem ipsum, you guys know that from the Adobe course. It's got all that. Okay, so let's put some more content under this heading. Okay, and then take a little bit more content from that page and put it under the next heading. And then maybe we can get rid of one of these headings. Once you actually do your content, okay, all of a sudden I have nothing that's red. Because by writing more, I've sorted out the issue with the keyword density, and now I actually have more than 300 words, which Yoast says if you're truly trying to optimize parts of your website, a page or post, that it has to be more than 300 words. So all this stuff is good, and all of a sudden up here it's good. Now when I go to grade this, it is not good enough for me to just look up at the top of each of your pages, or for example, here I'm going to update that. If I go to pages or posts, and I know he's got a bunch of pages, so let's go to pages. I'm not just going to go here and say, oh, yep, this is good, this is all green. I'm going to give you full 20 marks for this. That's not good enough, okay? Because you could have totally scammed Yoast and optimized the word "the" and made it work, right? I'm not going to allow that. So I will actually look at this. Now, you've optimized a post, not too bad. Now, I actually didn't spend the bulk of this video working on the content itself. You would need to spend a little more time on that. Now, are you starting to get the sense of why I keep telling you, don't spend 3 weeks picking a theme with all these superb bells and whistles and all this crazy tech on it? Pick a theme that's easy to navigate. Pick a theme that you feel that your users would be comfortable with, and then focus on the content. Now, if you're doing retail, then yeah, you should probably look right into a Woo theme, stuff like that. But this, using Yoast and using it to analyze your posts is a big deal. So if I go to readability now, it's going to have all sorts of problems there. I do want to show you one of my posts as an example, because I wrote a longer post, okay, which is not a negative thing in terms of optimization these days, okay? The longer posts are actually better optimized. But when you take a look, and this post itself, this like actually generated quite a bit of traffic on my site, because it's the only time I've really actually posted for the purpose of generating more traffic, and I ended up getting business out of it. I did 4 or 5 posts all within the time span of about 6 weeks, right when all this stuff was going on. And this was my first post, and my focus keyword was the name of this organization I was talking about, the Asawbal Bayfield Conservation Authority. So I use it in headings, I use it in links, I use it in the keywords for all these images. So when you go down to the Yoast rating on my plugin, it's like, oh yeah, man, you're killing it here. Now this is actually the older version of Yoast, so you see a couple things here that are different. I like the newer version that I just installed on my brother's site because it categorizes the issues. This would be in a different category. So the only thing it doesn't like, and this is where it was talking about how it watches for duplicate content, it says, oh, you're looking at another page where you're using the same exact focus keyword. I'm using the same words in my focus keyword phrase on the other page, which is generally speaking a negative thing. This article is Cornerstone content. I should have that checked. There's a whole thing with Yoast and Cornerstone content. It's really cool. Like, is this part of your site that you feel like represents some of your best work, sort of thing? Or some of the most important things you're trying to make sure your users know? And this defines what Cornerstone content is. And then Yoast will try and help to encourage you to use that link in other posts, because that creates better internal linking. And that might be the type of thing that's linked externally too, and then Yoast would recognize that. And linking's a big deal with SEO and all that stuff. So I never mentioned that before, but you could see I've done all the snippet and all this. So I want to go here, because this, I don't want to just brush this off. I don't grade readability for your final project, but I'd like to at least see that you guys weren't red. Now I'm red because I wrote this like an essay, and I have a lot of semicolons, and I go on and on about things. And then I'm also red because I was actually reporting the contents of a meeting. So I was repeating back almost like I was what do they call those guys in court? Stenographers that type all like, then the guy came to the stand and what? Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Why do old people know all this stuff? It's weird. And I consider myself old now because I'm Gen X and you guys are millennials, and there's a gap there. So I was kind of being a court stenographer here, and that's going to turn out to be sort of annoying writing, big long sentences. And then in my introduction, I went to Catholic school for 8 years. Okay, I'm a bit of a grammar nerd. I use big words. That's the way I was raised. So Yoast doesn't like this. You should see some of the stuff it says when you go to, I got a crap rating in the Fleisch reading ease test, which is actually an official like test that they're using. 3 subheadings are followed by more than the recommended 200. Wow, that was like 300 words last week. So they're always changing this. Now they're saying, go ahead and write more than 300 words in a post, but each post should be less than 250, not 300. 10 paragraphs contain more than 150 words. 51.1% of the sentences have more than 20 words. Like, what is your deal, man? So they're getting on me about this. A lot of them contain passive voice, 3 consecutive. So this is cool too. 3 consecutive sentences start with the same word. Click on the eyeball and then go up, and it will, there, it's right there. It'll have that content highlighted. Like, how freaking awesome is this? Like, it's basically providing you with free tutoring to make sure that your content is better set up for your users. Guys, this is one of the most important lectures I have in this class, is Forget about all, people get too hung up on, oh, I got to get the root directory connected. That should take you 2 seconds. Get the theme set up, pick a theme, spend a couple hours, get it done. Focus on the content. That's what this plugin is about. It's not just about keywords. It's trying to help you make the content better too. 48.9% of the sentences contain a transition word. That's good. That's because I kept going on and on and on. You know how I am. So I think this is great that it has that in there. And I'm not trying to throw myself under the bus here by showing you how bad my readability is. I mean, I worked hard to get this out there. It was sent out through one of the big organizations that represents a lot of lakefront owners, and then a bunch of them put it on their websites, and other ones put it in their social. All of a sudden, within a week, I was actually ranking better on the SERP for the keyword phrase AuSable Bayfield Conservation Authority than the website for the AuSable Bayfield Conservation Authority, because I had massive linking, like content that was being commented on. It was just, this is what it's all about. Do I have time to actually do this in the real world so that I can show you every week what I'm doing and teaching it to you? It's tough, okay? But I do have examples.